Hello everybody, E here. Welcome back to another book review. Today I am reading technically the first one, but not really. I'm going to explain in a second. The first winner of the National Book Award in 1950, Nelson Algren, for his book The Man with the Golden Arm. If you watched my previous video where I mentioned this, I had no idea this was a movie. And it seems like everyone else knew it was a movie and had no idea it was a book. Uh, this is a fantastic piece of literature, and I am at a loss for how I'm going to describe it so that people nowadays will read it. First off, it's kind of hard to find, at least in a cool a design like this is, I guess, what I'm saying, because the only other copies that are available have the author's picture on it. I know people tend not to buy things like that. This one was published by Seven Stories Press. I'm not sure exactly what year. They are in New York, Oakland, and London, so they're relatively big. Let's see here. This one's from 2002, I believe. I might need to get out. No, this is 2022. Oh, the copyright. So yeah, the copyright for the forward. There's two different. There's an introduction and a forward. If that's correct, then this was published in 2022. I really like this copy. I got it for like $3 off of Abe Books. It was the only copy of the book on there. That might change. Who knows? The writing here is absolutely exquisite. It is very modern, in my opinion. Most of the reason why I don't read classics is because of the writing. I don't like the shalls and the wither twos and whatever and the y fours. I don't like that style. I don't like the Jane Austens. I don't like the Mary Shelleys. I don't like the Shakespeare's, the Dickens, any of that stuff. And I know I'm talking about people who wrote in the 1800s, but to me, that really didn't stop, I guess, until the 50s. I don't know. I haven't read much. Actually, that's a lie. I've read Gone with the Wind. And there will be a video about the National Book Awards popping up on the channel next. So, not, you know, the next time I post a video, it'll be that one. But basically, the short form of it is I've figured out that the books that I like reading the most have won National Book Awards. Going back to the writing, I read Gone with the Wind by Margaret Mitchell years ago, probably about a decade ago, and I was floored by how well written it was and how it seemed more modern style. So I am doing more research. I am learning as I go along what a modern style of writing, when that started. I'm researching all of that stuff. I feel like most people attribute that to James Joyce's Ulysses. I don't know. But I do find it funny that I was staying away from all of this fiction from the 30s, 40s, 50s, and so on because I thought of antiquated writing styles. So if you guys want to help me with that, you can put your comments down there in the doobly-doo, and I will look into it even further. But let's talk about The Man with the Golden Arm. I keep wanting to say gun for obvious reasons. It's a James Bond movie, but this one, the movie adaptation starred Frank Sinatra. I got James Joyce in my head for some reason now. Frank Sinatra starred in it. I find it funny because Frank Sinatra is mentioned in the book, and not in such a way that it's just a one-off. It's not that they say, oh, hey, the character looks like Frank Sinatra. And oddly enough, for me, I don't know a whole lot about Frank Sinatra or the Rat Pack or any of that stuff. My mom was a big fan. I have no idea other than it was Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., Frank Sinatra, I believe. I could be wrong even about that. But Frank Sinatra is mentioned in the book. Frank Sinatra ended up playing Frankie Machine, who is the main character, the titular man with the golden arm. But it's one of those things that he's just mentioned. And I'm wondering if that spurred the movie, the creators of the movie, the adaptation, I wonder if it spurred them to cast Frank Sinatra because he was mentioned in the book, or did Frank read the book and want to make the movie? I don't know. I will look into it. If I find the movie and watch the movie, I will of course review the movie because it is a movie adaptation of a novel I enjoyed. This book destroyed me, and that's no hyperbole, no exaggeration. This book left me on the floor. I knew it was going to end badly. In fact, I thought I remembered this movie, but in fact, I was actually thinking of Requiem for a Dream. It's weird because neither one of these things are like the other. But I remember specifically like someone like losing their arm because of intravenous drug use. And that happens in this one, and it seemed to be going down that same path, that path of destruction that you see in Requiem for a Dream. But for some odd reason, I kept thinking Requiem was an older movie that was filmed in black and white. That was not the case. I kept expecting a certain thing to happen, and it never happened, which led to several shocks throughout the book. I knew it was going to end on a sour, dire, just absolutely soul-crushing note, and it did. I want to talk about some of my favorite characters. Frankie Machine, of course, is the titular character. He is the man with the golden arm, as it were. And what that means is he's a dealer. He deals cards. He also shoots pool. And he attributes all of his luck to his arm, his golden arm. It's not actually golden, but he treats it that way, you know, like it's his lucky arm. So he has a buddy named Sparrow. And there's some great character work with these two. I am reminded of Edgar and Wireman from Doomakey. I'm reminded of their back and forth, but then things start to go sour. Things go south after somebody is murdered. I don't want to give too much away because I really, really want you guys to read this book. Yes, it was published in 1950. No, it does not have any of the trappings of a book published in 1950. There's no racism that I could really tell other than when he's describing the dark side of town, so the black side of town. It's odd how little there was of it in here, and even the misogyny is dialed down. It just does not feel, it feels a far more progressive modern novel than you would expect. It is definitely along the lines of men's fiction, but it is nowhere written like that. It's not like Max Brand and that nonsense. This is exceptionally written. There are numerous, and I mean loads, of typographical errors. You know, in fact, whoever did this version of the book, Seven Stories Press, they obviously went in and did a control find and then replaced all of the instances of corners to comers, Comers. Because comers, first off, not really a word that I can think of. Also, unless, you know, certain, anyways, we're not going to go there. But there's every single instance of corners has been turned into comers. And it took me a while to figure out, you know, to reason out why. And that's probably because somebody, you know, tried to either scanned it or got a bad copy of it, because comers kind of looks like corners if you squint at it. With my bad eye, that's what it looks like. That's what corners looks like. But with my glasses on, I was able to see that it literally says comers. I know I'm making a big deal about this, but I want to make sure anyone who watches this knows, any of the fans of this channel know that I'm big about typos and typographical errors. Simple as that. I hate books with them. This book was so good, I didn't care. Also, I could see what had happened. And I'm going to forgive it because the writing is otherwise absolutely phenomenal. And I cannot speak to the original document because this book's from 1950. If there's a hardcover that has lasted that long, it's probably in terrible shape, and I'm not going to find it. Either that, or it's worth thousands of dollars by this point. So yes, there are numerous things that set this firmly in the 1950s, but at the same time, it feels like a modern novel. Another thing that I want to make note, you know how a certain type of person always brings up, what about Chicago? When anyone brings up, you know, school shootings or anything revolving around white murderers, or especially mass murderers. They bring up how many people are murdered by black people in Chicago and how bad Chicago is. And why it's bad, they say, is because of black people. The white people in Chicago in the 1950s, yeah, that was some bad folks. They were some bad individuals. It's funny, though, because I went and looked at some of the reviews, and there was an older woman who reviewed this book saying, this isn't the Chicago I remember. But then she goes on to say, now I know why I don't remember it, because I was living in the suburbs. This is not a book about the suburbs. This is a book about the hood. Plain and simple. White hood, black hood, doesn't matter. It's the hood. The cops are corrupt. The people who live there, prostitutes, druggies, gamblers, all that stuff. And all of them are white because it's segregated. You had the black hood, you had the white hood. And the white hood mostly were Polish and I think it's Polish and Jewish immigrants and Polish and Jewish Americans. I have never heard a certain slur. Also, books from 1950, not one single N-word in sight. Nowhere. Not a single one. Not said by anybody. Not written anywhere in the book. So those of you who are saying that was just the sign of the times. No, it wasn't. I keep trying to stress this. It was not a sign of the times. It was used by racist people. It was not used by everybody. And just because schools and cats and all that stuff were named that word does not mean that everyone used that word so flippantly. It doesn't show up at one time in this book. Now, so it's a story, like I said, it's a story about the streets, drug addicts, prostitutes, so on and so forth. I was constantly aware of the destitute lifestyle of these characters. I was constantly felt dirty reading this book. I have lived in hovels. I have lived in trailer parks. I have lived in the most disgusting. I've lived on the streets, mainly, is where my experience comes in. And it's funny because my experience, this situation, this living in this kind of squalor has not changed in 75 years. It hasn't changed a lick. It's the same. It's the same feeling of hopelessness. It's the same feeling that no matter how good life gets, you are only ever going to reach a certain station in life and nothing above it. It's that feeling of loss. Like every day is a new loss. You lose another small piece of your humanity until you feel like there's nothing left and there's no reason to go on. So you try to end it. This book covers all of that. Every last detail. It is a beautiful work of art in both style and substance. The writing, I've never seen writing like this. I don't know if it's a dead style and I need to read more like it. Someone compared this to Don Carpenter's Hard Rain Falling. I own that book. I need to read it. If it's anything like this, I'm going to absolutely love it. But the substance is where it's at. You follow these characters, you fall in love with these characters, you understand these characters, you understand every single little motivation to do, and then, here at the end of this review, I need to talk about addiction. Frankie Machine is addicted to morphine in this book. I have my own history of addiction with both opioids and heroin. It's the same horse, just a different end of it. One's synthetic and one's natural. I don't know. It's organic. Heroin is organic morphine. No, they're different compounds. But in fact, I believe Dilaudid is closer to heroin. But seeing the old me in this book, when I was homeless, when I was an IV user, it made me appreciate where I am now. So much more. How I fought from the depths, from rock bottom, not being any farther, could not be any farther down, to now having thousands of people following me on the internet, to have had over 50 books published over the course of 20 years, to have felt like a failed writer. After having accomplished all of that, having my limited editions sell out before they even go public, it brought it into perspective for me. And here, in the winter of my existence, I'm happy where I'm at because of this book. This book showed me where I came from. This book showed me what could have happened, where I could have ended up. And that just means so much more to me. The book meant so much more to me because of that. So if you have a history of addiction and you are not triggered into use by reading or watching movies about this, then I highly recommend you check this out. And for those of you who have had loved ones, family members, friends, spouses, girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever you want to call them, who have lost their battle with addiction, I highly, and you blame them for your heartache, I ask that you read this book. It's not going to make it hurt any less. It's not going to take the blame off of them. But it might show you, no, it will show you what they went through and how hard they fought all the way up until the end. Because every junkie I've ever known, myself included, has done everything in this book. So if you've ever wanted to know, before this, the best book on that is Chad Lutzke's Wallflower, at least for me. But this one's something special. It tells you exactly what it's like, and it gets you right smack dab into your vein, straight into your bloodstream. Yeah, I love this book. Easy 5 stars. It's one of those books where I want to, exaggerate and be like, I want to give it 10 out of 5, that kind of thing. It's one of those books. But yeah, read it, please. If you can find this book, read this book, and I will be back to let you know what I think about the movie as soon as I can find the movie. But until next time, I have been E, you have been you. This has been another book review. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.